Now, Cameron, I have to ask you this.
Yes.
This quote unquote foam fingers injustice, right? Who do you think, if you were to make a short list of who do you think could launch a nuclear war with Apple regarding their policies around allowing apps onto their store and, you know, the limitations that they present? Who do you think would be the most likely person to be able to topple that I don't want to say empire because it makes Apple sound like the bad guy, but I guess we're about to get into that discussion, aren't we?
Let's jump into that discussion here, guys. The news is done, guys. It's time to get into our topic of the show, which is Apple versus Epic and this whole debacle foolishness thing. Let me switch over to the web here.
Now, while you switch over, hold on, no, switch back to the webcam view because I got to reveal my backdrop now. It's time because the topic of the show is here. I got my backdrop, baby.
That's a pretty good backdrop. Yeah, there you go.
It's a great backdrop. I'm very excited about it. I'm very interested. Remember at the top of the show where I said I'm interested in this episode? Yes. And remember later in the show where I grabbed this beer that's almost gone? I'll probably be grabbing another one in just a moment. This is the moment. This is the moment.
This is a huge story. So this is after the whole xCloud debacle. What ended up happening is, like, earlier this week, people started noticing on Fortnite for mobile devices and tablets, so iOS and Android, they started noticing that for items to buy, there were duplicate options here. There was the normal Apple payment where, hey, if you want to buy, an Axe for $10, you can buy it through Apple. Or if you want to buy it through the Epic store, it's only $7.99. Which, for people who don't know, if you're unfamiliar with at least Apple's, and to my understanding, a lot of app developers, I know Steam is a perfect example as well, like, anytime, as part of the conditions for going in and setting up your game or your app on the App Store or Google Play or whatever, is that Apple and or Google gets a 30% cut of all transactions with that. So if your app is $10, Apple gets $3 of that. If you have in-app transactions where people sign in for subscriptions, V-Bucks and purchasing stuff like that, Apple also gets a 30% cut of that as well. And this has been more or less widely known for years now. This has been, as far as the App Store has been a thing, it's been a norm. If you're a Steam user, it's basically been the same forever. Like, Steam hasn't changed that rule. And so this was really interesting because they just rolled this out here. There was no update, and a lot of people were already like, oh, we need to pay attention to this because this is against Apple's policy, and this could really hurt them in the butt. And sure enough, within a couple of hours, Apple pulls Fortnite from the iOS store. Google ends up pulling it Fortnite from their store like hours later. But specifically for Apple, they pull it down. They put up a notice telling people, hey, Fortnite broke, or Epic Games broke the terms and conditions of putting their app on the App Store by letting people go through and buy, not go through the official Apple channels to purchase in-game stuff. So we've taken it down from the App Store. We're working with Epic Games to get Fortnite back up as soon as possible. And then, actually, you know what? I should probably just find the video.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So
keep it rolling.
The first move, pawn to A6. And I don't know anything about chess, so I'm just making up the letters here. Oh, hey,
BlackRock
14 coming in.
Rating with a party of two. Welcome to the stream,
rating. Sir. Speaking of raids, so they create this direct billing option. Apple removes them from the App Store. Immediately after, lawsuit is filed. This video goes live in Fortnite.
On Twitter, on the stream, basically on a loop the entire day. For people who are unfamiliar with this is actually this is a parody on the 1984 video that Apple did way back in the day. A very iconic video. This is like in the Library of Congress. It's like a very important video.
One of the greatest advertisements ever made, period.
Yeah, and it was, Let's BlackRock. It's very good. Hello, it's very good. You rated us at just the right time, because now we're going to talk about Apple versus Epic. This entire debacle. So what's going on? And the questions I want us to talk about are: what do we think about these development, and what effects could this have for the industry if either side wins? Seth, I'll let you start out with the opening arguments.
Oh man, it is opening arguments is right. This is I was talking to my friend about this yesterday. I was like, this is nuclear war. This is a pivotal moment for not only Apple as like a company and the App Store and like the empire that it's built around the iOS. And honestly, say what you will, but like Apple invented the smartphone, right? Like they pioneered that technology, touch screen devices. They did that, right? They started a new age of how we interact with devices. And so this is now, I think, going to be a big nexus point of how does the continuation of those devices as they continue to grow and evolve, because no one could have ever thought when Steve Jobs was on stage in 2006 holding up the thing saying it's an iPhone, an internet device, and a phone. It's an iPod, a phone, internet device, and he just kept saying it over and over. That's what it was when it launched. Now it has become a device for logging our lives, for identifying corruption, for playing game. Like there's so many things that can happen. And you're right, these rules have been around forever. You agree to them when you put on the App Store, or when you agree to launch an app on the App Store, you agree to that 30% split. That's the cost of doing business, quote unquote, on the App Store. And I would say that from Apple's perspective, they look at Fortnite and they say, hey, you have been given access to 1 billion users. Now, some of those folks were probably already playing Fortnite, but at the end of the day, they're playing on iOS, right? Like they're putting the time in on iOS. So
true, yeah.
They're getting access to those users. And so Apple believes they're entitled to a cut of that. Epic feels that this cut is limiting their ability to provide discounts to their customers and things like that. Please don't let any of this confuse you. This boils down to Epic wants more money, and they have decided that they would rather give
boils down to money. They want the money. It boils down to money.
They would rather give everyone a 20% discount and pocket the extra 10% than to continue letting Apple do the 30%.
Basically, because honestly, like that discount, it was $7.99 as compared to $9.99. So technically, they got like a 20% discount.
Yep.
And by doing that, Apple doesn't get their 30% cut, and Epic takes an additional little 10%. Slice off the top and pockets it for themselves.
Now, there's two really. I know I ramble, but there are two really important factors here. One is this was not a. Don't think that this was like Happy Friday, we're going to do this. This was a calculated, strategic move, because Apple is about to go before the EU and talk about what is called antitrust, which of course we know the EU is very big on consumer rights. There's a plethora of things that you may not be aware of, but as I'm a product designer, I work on web tools. Like I said, I worked at a company for 3 years that was focused on games, website, media. And I can tell you things like GDPR, like the Privacy Act that was passed by the EU, those things impact those companies greatly. We spent years working on our websites to get them ready for GDPR. The first project I had on my new job was creating the GDPR banner. It just went live the other day. So it's like, when the EU makes decisions around things, it sends it's an epicenter for waves of change, right?
Yep.
So they're about to go before the EU to talk about, hey, is Apple unfair in their practices, right? Epic chose this exact moment to drop this bomb because they want this to be.
That video was not cut in a day. They've been sitting on that for a while.
And I think it's a little shady that they've like weaponized kids to turn this into, kids get upset with mom and dad because Fortnite's gone. Mom and dad are like, well, why's Fortnite gone? Oh, because Apple's being mean. and it's we really love to gang up on corporations, especially in America. So it's just turned into this basically this tactical strike, right? That's been chosen at this exact moment. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'm just going to stress again, do not think that this is a pro-consumer. I love this term is going around. People love this what the fuck is pro-consumer, anti-consumer? It's a new term. It reminds me a lot of the gates of the mid 2010s where it's like everything was a gate. It's like,
yeah.
Antenna gate. I'm not going to invoke the gamer one, but there was just all these gates, right? And now we've got this thing. So don't think that this is anything other than, Epic wants to make a little bit extra money. Because imagine they're making billions off of Fortnite. If I gave you $1 billion and said, hey, you want 10% more? You're like, hell yeah, let's do it. Like,
let me read some quotes here that'll help. So this is part of the quote that Apple released. I'm reading this from Business Insider when they blocked the store. I'm going to read the second paragraph here because I think it's stuff we can talk about here. Quote, Epic has had apps on the App Store for a decade and have benefited from the App Store ecosystem, including its tools, testing, and distribution that Apple provides to all developers. Epic agreed to the App Store terms and guidelines freely, and we're glad they've built such a successful business on the App Store. The fact that their business interest now leads them to push for a special arrangement does not change the fact that these guidelines create a level playing field for all developers and make the store safe for all users. We will make every effort to work with Epic to resolve these violations so they can return Fortnite to the App Store. And so that like for me, one point is that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, number one, like regardless of how you feel, please understand at the end of the day, Epic knowingly broke terms and conditions agreements with Apple. Doesn't matter like, hey, I want to make a statement and try and change the rules. They knowingly did that. And I think they knowingly can because they're making enough money to do so right now. Like again, like the point that Apple's trying to make here is that they've been, it more or less the point they're trying to make is like, Epic's been fine for the last decade making money off this. Why are they coming to us right now? What's changed? And I think that's so very interesting. But I know, like, regardless of how you feel, that was the one thing I know that I was thinking, like, dude, they broke. Like, there's not like, oh, it's okay. They're trying to make a statement. They violated App Store agreement. So, like, in the current system, Apple taking their app down is completely within the realm of their right to do so.
And I don't think that at this point Epic's trying to ask, like, is that right or wrong? According to the rules, they broke them, right? They broke the rules. Yeah. I think Epic is trying to raise the question of, are these rules fair? Like, are these rules...
Speaking on that, second quote I'm going to read is from the official legal document that Epic has filed in their suit against Apple. It's point number 6. Quote, Epic brings this suit to end Apple's unfair and anti-competitive actions that Apple undertakes to unlawfully maintain its monopoly in 2 distinct multi-billion-dollar markets. One, the iOS app distribution market, and 2, the iOS in-app payment processing market, each as defined below. Epic is not seeking monetary compensation from this court for the injuries it has suffered, nor is Epic seeking favorable treatment for itself, a single company. Instead, Epic is seeking injunctive relief to allow fair competition in these 2 key markets that directly affect hundreds of millions of consumers and tens of thousands, if not more, of third-party app developers. End quote. And I don't... See, this is so hard for me because I get what they're trying to say is, hey, we're trying to help the little guy. It doesn't matter about us. We don't want any money. We just want a ruling so that we can help the little guy. If it inadvertently helps ourselves, well, that's cool. But, let's help these little guys and so they can keep more of their profits instead of having to... What people normally do is on the App Store, you either increase your app purchase by 30%, so that way you still make the same amount of money, and the other 30% goes to Apple, which in turn makes you pay more. Or they can take the Amazon approach, and basically when you want to buy something on your app, it's going to tell you, go to our website on a computer and buy it from there, and it'll be cheaper. And I don't know, I have multiple points on one point is I know reading that article or reading that line from Epic in their legal document, they're talking about a monopoly on the iOS app distribution market and the iOS in-app purchase market, which is built by Apple. Apple owns that framework. That's not like a free source thing. And I will be the first to say that for everybody listening, myself nor Seth are not legal counsel. Please do not come to us with any business, legal advice or questions in any shape, form, or fashion. We're just two geeky ass dudes that like talking about video games and video game shit. So back to the topic here, like that kind of confuses me on like it's their product. They manage it. Like they don't outsource, at least to my knowledge, they don't outsource and tell some other company to manage it. So why can I not make money off of that product? Do you have a rebuttal to that, Mr.?
Yes. This is, dude, Cameron, this is so big. It is. I knew it would be the topic, and I was like, I just dread it because it's so much bigger than Fortnite. It is at its core, and we're gonna bring this back to video games. This is I've been making this weird connection for a while between Microsoft and Sony as being Microsoft's very Android-like, and they're all about access. You know, do what you need to, you know, play where you want to, make your own decisions, customize your stuff. Whereas PlayStation's that walled garden, and I've even seen people use that term. Well, guess where that term came from? The App Store, right? So when you come over to this, you look at what Android does, you look at what iOS does. They are two fundamentally different ideologies when it comes to the consumption of things, right? Android is you can do whatever, whenever you want. It is completely customizable for the user, but it's also completely customizable for the developers. Now, that's for me personally. This is strictly Seth.
Okay.
I don't use Android because I don't like the fact that the apps have an theoretical unlimited access to the phone, right? Like, and now I know people will be like, well, Android has security measures, but the fact that you can, with a couple of taps, root the device and completely override the OS makes that thing a complete, in my opinion, just a complete nightmare to try and like manage, because you can install Fortnite, but also be installing a Bitcoin miner and also be installing a keylogger, and you wouldn't know unless you're very smart and very savvy with that kind of stuff. On the other hand, iOS has been like, you know what? Boom. Iron gates, you will enter through this entrance. We will scan you when you come in, and we're going to make sure that you are not doing anything. So a lot of people,
you've got to put it in context here. This is the entrance. You need to make sure that your mask is on at all times.
Yeah.
We have hand sanitizer on the side here. That's the only way you're getting into our establishment.
Part of the draw of Apple is the ecosystem. I love Apple Pay. I use Apple Pay more than I use my physical credit card. I'm heavily invested into that. Like, I make buying decisions. I go to Target now over Walmart because they take Apple Pay. I don't have to touch. I don't have to, especially in the germs, the germ phase that we're in right now. Like, I don't want to touch stuff, right? Like, and so that is part of the ecosystem. That is part of being a Apple user. And if you buy, so here's the problem is if they make an exception for one person, then it makes a crack and a chink in the armor, right? A missing scale from Smog, to use a bad example there. But if Fortnite gets away, if they give a special pass to Fortnite, then that Facebook's going to come in and look at they just added copy paste, like when an app tries to read your clipboard, it gives you a notification, and surprise, TikTok and Reddit reading your clipboard, and they're like, oh, it's a bug, we're patching it out. No, they got caught using the API in a way it was not supposed to be used. And that's just part of the system. It's part of the security that's built into that. Now, that security is not free, right? And Apple takes a cut off of that. And the question here is it right that they take that much of a cut? I personally don't think that 30% is too much to ask. I am also not going to be like, yeah, Epic really needs the money. They don't. They just launched their own Steam competitor. They're doing fine. So I think this question is a lot bigger than that. I'm going to lead straight into my kind of prediction. I think that Epic's going to get a special deal I think Fortnite's going to come back. Yep, I think that they're going to settle out of court, and that Epic's going to get, first 100 million is going to be 30%, but after that it's 15% or so. It's like basically kind of like what Steam does, right?
You think they're going to do the same like tiered structure thing that Epic went with, or even that Steam was more or less forced to do because Epic was doing something.
Yeah, Epic does a flat rate 12. What is it, 8812, and like Steam now does the staggered, like first $1 million is 30%, and then after that it's tiers, right? So I think Epic's going to get something like that, and I wouldn't be surprised if that goes out to every App Store app, right? It's going to suck for Apple. It's going to hit their share price, and I want you to know, full disclosure, I am an Apple share owner.
Same as well. I will.
Yeah, so like I own shares in Apple. So if I'm telling you to support Apple, then you can just flip me off and be like, "Well, you're a corporate shill." But you know what? That's my choice. So this is tricky, man. This is a nexus of what iOS's future looks like, because I can tell you, if iOS has to create backdoors that let apps, like, I do not want alternative payment options. I love Apple's commitment to security. I don't want I don't want my Visa card to have an app that can run transactions in the background. Like, I don't want that. That is not what I want. Like, I do not, I think, what was the other point they made? It was payment processing and
in-app purchases.
And like, I think that's just the cost of doing business. And what this is the same thing Walmart's been doing for years with Walmart Pay, and people have just been trying to get around. Credit cards take a percent off the top. Apple takes a percent off the top.
Yeah, and that's
people want to get around it. And no, people want to get around it, and they're finding any way they can. And this is the latest, and I think probably the biggest attempt that anyone's ever made at changing these policies. So what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts? I know we're both really big into Apple, so how are you feeling?
I kind of lean more towards you. Honestly, I'm seeing this, and I will say right from the start, I get that Epic's point in what they're saying they're trying to do, as far as getting, like, we want to make sure that, the smaller developers, these mobile developers that don't have these big companies, that they can keep more of their money. I fully understand it, because I know, doing this content creation thing, I've learned more about the gaming industry, and I understand how hard it is for indie developers to succeed, much less even try and make a footprint in the gaming industry when you have big juggernauts like the Avengers and Halo and Last of Us 2 and all these other games coming out. And I get that, like, some of these indie studios are like 1 person, 2 people, 10 people, 20 people in a studio, and that's it. And they're busting their butt to make this game and make something special. And, like, if they can keep more of their money to maybe keep their studio up to create more ideas and have a better chance for success, I get it. But like, really, to some extent, I don't get, there's the free Fortnite hashtag going around for a lot of people, like, yeah, dude, go Epic, go. And like, people were like, go Epic, go. And I was kind of like, really?
Let me go ahead and put this up. Like, marketing and PR is something that a lot of people talk about, right? Like, the marketing team did this. And a lot of people think that marketing and PR is like, oh, what does the tweet say? What does the press release say? And that's a big part of it. But there's a strategy side to it. And the strategy that Epic has employed here is honestly genius. I won't be surprised if this is included in, like, marketing textbooks as how to. This is guerrilla marketing, right? This is taking a message, a very clear, concise. I mean, look at this, dude. They are taking Apple's iconic top 3 commercial of all time, changed the world of advertising, changed the world of computers, and they have weaponized it against them. Like, when I saw this, like, my soul hurt. Like, it hurt me as a fan of Apple, and like, and I don't even mind sharing this. I'm distanced. Like, I worked at Apple for a while, and the part of their culture has always been, think different, always pushing forward for the right solution, not I think the WWDC 2013 opening video, it was this video about design, and design, the abundance becomes confused for choice, right? And it was just such a great articulated video about Apple's design process and like what Apple does and what sets them apart. So to see Fortnite like weaponize this against them hurt me badly. And I see why they're doing it. It makes perfect sense. But what I want people to understand out of this is there's no good or bad guy in this story. This is not Star Wars. This is not a fantasy story. Now, the people that crafted these messages and made these plans designed it to be that way, right? If I wanted to, the step one of persuading anybody to do anything, here's a little life thing for you. Make it a story. Make yourself the hero of your own story, and you persuade people to follow you, right? Like that's persuasion, right? And so what Epic has done here is they've framed it such that Apple's this tyrannical bad guy that's keeping kids from playing Fortnite. You need to hashtag free Fortnite.
They're more or less like working to rally because like you said, it couldn't have come at a perfect time. You have the antitrust lawsuit coming up in a little bit. You've also got the issue that people were already gamers. I will not say people, gamers were already like, "Come on, Apple, why won't you put xCloud on iOS?" Yep. Like they were already upset about this, and now Epic's like, "This is the perfect time."
Yep.
Boom, go for the throat. Again, this was not some random act of craziness. This was calculated, concise,
it's like I don't really even know what to expect from this. Like my prediction, like my very moderate prediction, is that this is going to get settled, and Epic's going to get a special deal, and that's how it's going to be. And maybe iOS, maybe the App Store changes to where like that deal is available to everyone, kind of like Steam has done, right? Like once you meet a threshold, you get a better access to that. But personally, I think it should be the opposite of that. Well, it should be.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because like, if that, funny you bring that up, if that deal were to happen, that would be apparently, according to Epic in their legal document, that would be completely counter to what they're trying to prove. Because if they get a special deal, according to what they said in their argument, that's not what they want. They want it for everyone, not just them. But I digress.
Yeah, and like and I hope that whatever Apple does, they do it for everyone, right? But what I would rather see personally is I would rather see a tiered system going from the bottom to the top. So it's gonna oddly, this is how taxes work, and maybe like you up to the first $1 million, you 5%. $1 million to $5 million, 15%, and beyond these are made up numbers, but like beyond 5 million, then you pay 30%, right? So basically the biggest of the big are the ones that are paying to support the App Store. And then what you were talking about, indie developers are actually able to make more money and support their studios, because when you're living paycheck to paycheck, every dollar counts, right? Epic's not strapped for cash. They're not.
No, they're not.
And the people that really want this changed are not hurting. They just want it changed so that they can increase their share price or make more money.
This one tweet that randomly got retweeted on my feed this past week more or less summed up my, like, I was trying to have trouble trying to think about this. Like, I understand what Epic's trying to do, and it's good to help the developers and the indie guys and the little guy, but it's Apple's storefront, and they can do what they want, and they have the right as a business to do that. So my thought is, this tweet summed up my thoughts from Andrew Todd, Mr. Todd over on Twitter. Epic Games ain't your friend. Apple ain't your friend. Neither are Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Google, Samsung, EA, Konami, Ubisoft, Bethesda, WB, Capcom, Activision, Netflix, Square, Disney, or Devolver. You may have an amicable transactional relationship, but you ain't friends. And that, like, 100% like, yeah, that's it. That's 100% like it is. We joke about the console wars, and we're talking about this stuff, and like, well, we like iOS, I like Android and whatnot. These are all transactional stuff. You like those things because of some benefit that they give you, that you have with them. But like, and the companies are going to be very oh, hey, this is pro-consumer, anti-consumer, all sorts of crap. But the fact of the matter is that companies are going to do what they need to, in some cases, the least amount of effort possible to either keep you in their ecosystem to make money, to keep you giving them money, or start for you giving them money. That's it. Like, their business. Like, not saying business is a bad word. It should not be thought of that way. But they are a business, and they have to make money to survive and pay for not only the corporate people, but the grunts down at the bottom as well, and continue making the content.
Sorry, I'm reaching the end of this beer, so my
oh, I can't. We broke them.
Limiter, my limiter capacity is is reduced. Sorry, I was trying to think of a good word. My suppression module isn't at fully functioning. I'm going to talk for a second about being a designer. Right? Like, I'm a product designer. I'm a user experience designer.
Okay.
And I want to tell you, a big part of being a designer is looking at how people use things and enjoy things and trying to make it better for them, right? I look at how people, one of my favorite examples of product design in Xbox right now was with the Elite Controller version 2. They went into people's homes and they looked at how they use the controller. And one of the things they found is that people love to store their controller in the case because it's a precious item, right? Like, you have an Elite controller, right? And you take, like, how do you store it? Look, it's in the box. So this is what they found. People put it back in the zipper when they're not using it. So do you have the V1 or V2?
V2. So
you have the V2. Can you zip it back up and flip it around and show us the little pocket that you can charge through? So that hole was created by the product design team because they saw that people like to store it in their controller case, and they were like, people need to be able to charge their controller when they're not using it, and if they're keeping it in that case all the time, that's how they do it. So when we tell you, like, these companies are not your friend, yes, from a corporate perspective, they're not. However, the people that work in these companies are doing their best to make the best products and experiences that they can for you. Now, is there a cost of doing business? Yes. Apple has to make billions of dollars to keep shareholders happy, to keep the production flowing. They're pushing to be carbon neutral by 2020 or 2030 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And like, all of those initiatives are funneled by money, right? So just don't think that just because they're looking for money that they're evil. Like, yeah, I mean, people want money because they want more money, but also that money allows them to do things that they otherwise would not be able to do. And so Epic has launched the Epic Game Store, which has given them enough money to challenge Apple on this particular thing, right? And
yeah, I want to go ahead and say, like, and I get it, because Epic having Fortnite and Fortnite becoming so successful has enabled great pro developer maneuvers, such as the 8812 profit split, or the fact that Unreal Engine 4, like, the licensing is free. Yep. And all the other plans that they've done for developers, like that like the money from Fortnite has directly contributed to them initiating those plans, and I do applaud Epic on that.
Yeah. And Epic, I think, overall is doing a great job pushing those initiatives forward, and that's what they're doing here. But also understand that that's what they're saying, but the intention here is that they do want to make some more money. But that's not a bad thing, because both Apple and Epic are able to do new things because of that. But what I wanted to really drive home in my little tangent there was, there are people that work at these companies that are so passionate about you, the user, right? And they are fighting. As a designer, I have been in situations before where I have had to fight for what is right for the user, right? There were decisions, and I did marketing prior to that, and so I had these situations that were really shady, right? Like, I'm like, can we really say that? Because it's not actually that price. It's actually this price. You're putting a little asterisk and then adding some text at the bottom that says this is, introductory price or whatever. Yeah. And you've had experiences like this before. We've seen it in free trials and just all the stuff that, you're like, man, that's a little shady, right? And designers are there to try and combat that. good marketers are trying to, create messages that are going to make you buy the product, but not deceive you, right? And so I don't want you to think that Apple bad, Epic bad. That's not what this discussion is about. This discussion is, are the way that things run right now fair? And if they're not, how should we change them to make them fair? And I think that right now there's not a clear answer. Is 30% fair? I can't tell you yes or no. I personally don't think that it is unfair per se, but I do think that I would probably go to fight for a tiered system where indie developers and small apps are able to make more money up front. And then as they scale, they pay a little bit more in that, versus what I think Epic wants is more of a flat reduction, because that's going to hit, basically that's going to take money from Apple and put it to Epic. And you don't win from that. Like, don't think that they're giving you a discount. They're not getting you a discount. They're quote unquote passing the savings along. But that's just because they screamed and cried and went to the EU and made a big fuss about it. And then the EU passed some law that made it where Apple has to do that. And then, now we're in a situation where Apple's, not able to continue doing the zero emissions approach, or they're not able to innovate something really cool and new on their phone. Like, it's just one of those things where, like, everybody wants money, and don't think that these companies are evil or good. They're just companies. I'm going to end my rant with this. Do not make your personality a brand. I know I love Xbox. You love PlayStation. Yeah. I even wear some swag sometimes. You wear some swag sometimes. But
true.
my life doesn't revolve around Xbox. I get a little upset when xCloud doesn't come to iOS because I want that, but it's not like I'm not slipping into a.
You're not filing a court proceeding to the Supreme Court,
and I'm not jumping on. And that's a radical example, but also I would say, like, I'm not jumping on Twitter and talking to an Xbox community manager and cursing at them, and even in extreme cases threatening them, right? Like, that's stuff that happens every day because people they attach their personality and their self-worth to a brand, and when you do that, you kind of dehumanize yourself and you remove part of yourself that makes you, because at that point you're becoming a company, and a company can disappear tomorrow. Like, the EU could be like, yep, this is super unfair. 50%, 5% is all Apple's going to get. And overnight, Apple will lay off tons of people. They will close a lot of departments. They'll shut down services. They'll scale back because they'll have to make up that money somewhere else, right? And so this isn't like we won, we defeated the evil Apple, or we defeated the evil Epic. It's like somebody at that company lost because of it. So my thought here is just, it's okay to like things. It's okay to love things. It's okay to buy things. But don't think that just because you're buying or not buying something, that you're supporting some kind of crazy cause, or even more so, like, you're attaching yourself to that. Like, at the end of the day, you're a human, and that's awesome. And you are your own unique person, and video games and phones come and go. Don't let yourself be that kind of person where you're taking personal offense to these kinds of things. So that's the end of my Mike's Hard. Brought to you by Mike's Hard Lemonade rant.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Not sponsored by any means.
No, I agree with a lot of the points that you say on there. Like, I think piggybacking off of what you were saying to kind of wrap up too, like, it boils down to, the question is not like Apple or Epic or whose on. It's like, is 30% fair? And I think that the only comparative basis we can make this on is, funny enough, there seems to be a consistent theme here: Epic versus Steam. When the Epic Game Store came out and Steam was running a 30% thing, and kind of Epic's moves kind of helped charter the changes in what Steam's approach was, which you can see some correlation and some parallels there. I think there are a couple of differences and stuff in that particular scenario also. And I think, honestly, I would say, like, is 30% fair? I think you can make arguments for whether it is or isn't. And, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to drop the, lessen the price a little bit, maybe go down to 20 or 15. But I think a part of me still thinks that Apple's managing the servers that your games are running on, and they're managing the delivery method that your games send, that seamless experience that the end user has when they go to the App Store and click download, and it downloads within seconds on Wi-Fi connection. Like, that is Apple doing that. You as the developer are not doing that, and I think that alone, all the work and the money that they put in to make that possible, and have been to make that possible for a decade plus, does earn them the right to get a cut of proceedings for that, because they have to. Yeah. They have to pay for those servers somehow, and it's not like, I don't think that the right call is like, oh, just move money somewhere else. Like, then that, like you talked about, Seth, that takes money away from some other initiatives and some other like pro-consumer things that they're trying to do on the other sides of the table.
Yeah, and I would say, like, with Apple in particular, they are a company. It is astonishing the amount of effort and care that they put into trying to protect people, because for people like you and me, like, we're pretty tech savvy folks. We don't really have to worry that much about a whole lot of stuff. We're pretty smart about what we download and what we put on our phones. But as someone who has worked around, individuals who, I think they're called digital natives or digital migrants. They come to technology from a non-technology background, right? So someone who grew up typing on a typewriter now has a smartphone. Those folks, I'll be blunt, a little bit easier to deceive because they get intimidated by technology a lot faster. And this is where you hear about these, I love watching Kit Booga on Twitch. He's this guy that basically scams scammers, right? He'll pretend to be someone, and scammers will try and get him to go buy the gift cards, and the microchips are in your yard, right? They do that kind of thing. But that stuff works. It works on people, and it's sad, but it's true. And one of the things I like about Apple is that they invest a ton of money and resources and time and effort into making sure that their devices are something that you can use safely. Not just you as an adult, but as a kid. A kid could use it safely. Now, there are a couple of questions, there are a couple things where I know people would just like shoot at me. It's like, well, why don't they support this? Or why don't they, user accounts on the iPad? They want you to buy new iPads. Yeah, I mean, some of those decisions might be marketing driven. Some of them might be limitations for whatever. But at the end of the day, Apple puts an enormous amount of effort and time into this, right? And so to call Apple a bad guy, I think, is a bit unfair, because you're basically throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like,
I would agree.
You're disregarding all of the things that they do to protect users. Now, if you use Android and you're 100% anti-Apple, you don't care anyways. Like, I'm not going to convince you to buy an iPhone, but I would say that a majority of people who have iPhones, one of the top reasons they own it is because they feel safer and more secure with that device. So before you, take up arms against Apple, just, think about, it may not be important to you. You may be like, well, Google knows everything about me anyway, so I don't care. That's okay. But that doesn't mean that someone else's thoughts and feelings are invalidated. I use Gmail. I use a lot of Google services, but I still prefer my operating system, the thing that I am typing words into, and the thing that I am, hey, Ruru, welcome.
Hey, welcome.
The things that I'm downloading apps and providing my, payment information and my face, my facial structure, right? Like, all of that information, I just feel more secure with it being on that. And that, even if you don't feel the same way as I do, that's okay, but you should still respect my thoughts and my feelings toward that, because that's how commerce works. Some people like Steam because it is been around forever and they have a lot of very well-developed consumer features. There are probably some people who like Epic because they were the ones who championed the 88-12 split, right? Like, if I was a developer, I could definitely see myself being huge on Epic's side, because I'm going to win, right? Like, I get more money for my games. So does that mean one is better than the other? No. It just means that they have different value propositions and different types of people are going to enjoy them. So bear all of that in mind as we start to talk about this, because this story is far from over. This will continue on into the future. And if this attempt fails, I can promise you that someone else is going to try it.
Not going to be
So.
surprised if they do. With
Thank
that
you
being
for letting
said,
me rant.
no, please go ahead. It helps. But guys, that's it. What do you guys think? What are your opinion? Like, what do you think in this Apple versus Epic debacle? Do you think either or is on the right? It's very complex, but like, what are your thoughts on this, guys? Let us know. Hit us up at Rocket Punch Go on Twitter, at Darth Turner on Instagram. We're curious.
Yeah, if you want to throw shade at me on Twitter, the handle, what is it down here?
Yep,
over there. There we go.
Right there.
It's down there. Throw it in. I'll chat with you if it's a cool chat. I'll block your ass if it's not. So
that's just how it is.
Let's chat. Yeah, Ruru, we were talking about this earlier. I don't know if you were in here, but yeah, these are both multi-billion-dollar companies. They're fighting for more billions. This is not don't let yourself get invested.
But guys, that's it for episode 18 of the Rocket Punch Show. We want to thank you guys so much for listening in. I'll go ahead and say I'm looking at my clock here. I'm gonna make a judgment call here. We don't have enough time for a post show this week, but we'll make it up to you guys by having a nice, juicy, fun post show next week. So stay tuned for that, for all of our subscribers and people supporting us here. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Rocket Punch Show. Of course, I'm Cameron. That's Seth. Go to rocketpunchgo.com. That's where all your content here at Rocket Punch is going to be found. Again, a quick shout out. Thank you to everybody who joined us via Twitch to watch this show live. Make sure you're subscribed here to follow us. You have anything to add?
Well, no, hold on. Got to make sure we're on brand here. Remember to use your Prime Gaming subscription.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Prime Gaming.
Use your Prime Gaming subscription.
Not lesser. It's Prime.
It's Prime.
It's the Prime.
Apparently, it's a new thing now. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We always appreciate your guys' continued support. I'm working hard to continue to get you guys some awesome content. So stay tuned. I would say, if anything, follow us on YouTube. Check out these YouTube videos. I think they're pretty dope. And I want some more people to check out YouTube. So head over to youtube.com/rocketpunchgo. Like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff you do on YouTube. All the kids do nowadays. So and let us know how we're doing over there, so that way we can make some more better videos for you. So appreciate that, guys. But thank you so much. We'll catch you next week. Until then, good night and good game. If I can press the button there.